Hi, my name is Max Williams, and the purpose of this video is to talk about foreclosure myths and foreclosure facts. I'm a licensed realtor right here in Richmond, Virginia, and a significant portion of my business is working with individuals that are purchasing foreclosures either for their own principal residence or for investment purposes. There are a number of fallacies that exist surrounding foreclosures, and probably the largest is that foreclosures will always need a lot of work. That is definitely not true. There are homes right here in the Central Virginia area that are brand new. No one has ever lived in them, yet they're foreclosures. That simply happens because a builder is not able to sell the home and unfortunately not able to make their financial payments to the bank, and the bank forecloses. There are plenty of homes that are very, very well maintained on the market that are foreclosures. And then there are some homes that are in dire need of repair that are also foreclosures. They are overshadowed, of course, and people think that foreclosures always are trashed homes or not very well maintained. In many cases, foreclosures will need carpet and paint, but carpet and paint are relatively inexpensive upgrades that can tremendously affect the way a home shows. Banks, as a general rule, aren't interested in doing any of that, getting a home ready for the market. And as a result, they take a financial loss by not making these homes show at least a little bit better than they normally would. The homes that do need work present a special problem for not only the bank that's selling them, but also for the purchaser. If a home has significant damage, it requires special financing. And when I say significant damage, it could simply be something like a kitchen sink missing. If a kitchen sink is missing, the appraiser will consider that home not functional or habitable. Therefore, it won't qualify for traditional lending programs. Even though a sink can be purchased and installed for a few $100s, that could conceivably kill the financing under traditional loan products. Surprisingly, banks do not want to do even the most minor repairs in many cases to get their homes to where they at least will be financeable for a buyer. Number two myth is that foreclosures are risky from the standpoint of the title or the ownership of that property. In Virginia, what happens is that when a home is foreclosed, the lender will typically order a title search. That title search will make sure that the home is ready for the marketplace and that a buyer won't have any problems getting title insurance on that home. Title insurance is going to be mandatory if you're getting financing to buy that home and highly recommended if you're paying cash. That title insurance will protect the purchaser if any unforeseen circumstances come forward in the future regarding clear title or a claim on that property that someone else may have had. Fortunately, in Virginia, we don't have any strange laws that allow someone that was foreclosed to come back for a specific period of time and reclaim their home or buy it even though it's been sold to another party. Some states have very strange laws in that regard, and we don't have to deal with that here. So you are able to get title insurance on foreclosures here in Virginia, and it's just as safe as buying a home that is sold by a traditional buyer. So there are no issues in this state as far as strange laws go about people coming back after the fact. Foreclosure fact number 3 is that the previous balance on the note that was foreclosed has nothing to do with the current value of the home or what the bank will be asking for their sales price on the home that they have foreclosed. The banks have to offer a house at or below market value in order for that house to sell. In many cases, a home will come on the market and it will be priced very attractively. It'll sell within the first week. There are other cases where I've seen homes sit on the market as foreclosures for a year, and the banks will systematically reduce the price over time, and ultimately someone will purchase that home. But it has nothing to do with what the previous owners had as far as their loan balance. Everything is dictated by what the market value is today. And market value sometimes is difficult to judge in these cases for the banks. Sometimes they will come in really, really low. Sometimes they'll be overpriced. So you just never know what's going to happen in the pricing realm for a foreclosure until it actually hits the market. Foreclosures are typically sold as is. The banks are very reluctant to do repairs to a property. Fortunately, the purchasers are able to get a home inspection, and that's highly recommended. After the home inspection is completed, it's pretty much take it or leave it as far as the banks are concerned. There are a few exceptions if there are some minor things that need to be done in order for the home to be financeable. Sometimes the banks will go ahead, but as a general rule, it is as is. And what you see is what you get. The banks don't make any warranties, and they don't say that they're going to make any repairs. And in many cases, they won't. Foreclosure fallacy number 5 is that banks will take a huge discount off of their listing price. And I'll give an example. Let's say a home is listed as $200,000 and the purchaser says, well, I really don't want to pay that. I'm going to come in and offer $150,000. The chances of that $150,000 getting accepted are slim to none. Statistically, my research has shown that the banks are going to take about 4 or 5% off of the last listed price. They will typically reduce the price on a fairly consistent schedule. It may be a 30-day schedule. It may be every 2 weeks they might do a price adjustment. But if we look at the history, we can usually forecast when the next price adjustment is going to take place. The asset manager that works for that lending institution or the third-party asset manager, they're very, very overworked, and they have a huge stack on their desk of files. If they see an offer that comes in and it's way, way, way below what they think the property is worth, they're not going to take it seriously, and in many cases they will come back with a counteroffer that's only $500 less than where they currently have their listing price. It's all about efficiency for them. They don't want to go back and forth 4, 5, 6 times with a buyer that isn't reasonable in their minds as far as the value of that property or what the ultimate sales price would be. So banks typically do not take a huge discount off of their listed price. They will reduce it over time, but they won't take a 25% reduction on a typical transaction. Foreclosure fact number 6 is that foreclosures are in all types of neighborhoods. In the past few months, I've been in foreclosures that are worth about $20,000, and I've been in some that are executive estates that are close to $1 million or more. Anywhere you have someone that has a mortgage, those individuals are going to have things that happen in their life. And unfortunately, not being able to pay the mortgage is something that is going to be consistent across all income levels, across all demographics. There are more foreclosures that are probably on the lower end of the price spectrum, but there are some very, very nice foreclosures in upscale golf course communities, executive homes, you name it. Wherever there are homes that are mortgaged, there are going to be foreclosures. Foreclosure myth number 7 is that the firm that lists that foreclosure will help the purchaser and do everything they can to make that transaction as smooth for the purchaser as possible. And while they can help in that transaction, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the seller. Their responsibility is to the seller to get the seller the best transaction possible for the seller. Therefore, it's crucial for someone interested in buying a foreclosure to have their own agent. The best part about it is the commission is paid by the seller. Basically, the seller, in this instance, the bank, hires a listing firm. That listing firm, in many cases, does a lot of foreclosure business. They make an agreement to where if the listing firm puts the home in the MLS or advertises the home, and another agent from another firm comes along and brings a buyer, they will split that commission. So it doesn't cost the buyer any additional funds. Yet a good buyer's agent that knows and understands foreclosures and is experienced in foreclosures will be a huge benefit for that purchaser. That buyer's agent will look out for that buyer from the standpoint of making sure they fully understand exactly what they're getting into as far as the foreclosure process, some of the pitfalls, some of the advantages, disadvantages of buying a foreclosure. There are many people that are apprehensive about foreclosures because they feel that it's not right. That was someone's home and they lost it and they shouldn't really buy it as a result. That's not really true, because by the time these homes hit our system, the previous owners are gone. You're not going to displace anyone by buying a foreclosure. That foreclosure, unfortunately, is an asset for the bank, and it's looked at as bricks and mortar. What happened with the previous owner was, of course, unfortunate, but unfortunately, there is nothing that anyone can do about that at this point. It is a sign of the times, and it does present an opportunity for that new buyer to not only get a home that works for them, but to also get an excellent deal. I personally sold my home of 17 years and bought a 3-year-old foreclosed home. I had to go back and forth with the seller for probably 4 or 5 weeks before they ultimately reduced it down to the point where I thought it was a good deal for me. There were some things that they did wrong as far as offering the property, and they could have made some very simple upgrades or repairs that were really necessary to make that home marketable, and they didn't do it, and it ended up costing them a great deal, actually. Banks are not real smart when it comes to marketing some of these properties, but that presents opportunity for the smart buyer that is well prepared, that understands the process, and has a good mortgage and a good realtor professional working with them to ultimately get them into the home that works for them at an excellent price. I would love to represent you or someone that you know if you're interested in foreclosures or any home in the Central Virginia area. My name is Max Williams, and I can be reached at area code 804-402-7788. My website is max@richmondhouseinfo.com, and would love to hear from you. That's actually my email. Once again, Max Williams, 804-402-7788. Thanks, and have a great day.